In this video, we're going to talk about whether you should capitalize or expense money that you spend on property, plant, and equipment after you've already acquired the property, plant, and equipment and put it into service. So let's say that you have a machine that you purchase, and that machine, you put scrap metal into this machine, and then out comes a gold bar. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Every hour you get one gold bar, so one gold bar an hour comes out of this machine. And so you buy this machine, and then let's say 2 years later, 2 years after you put this machine into service, you spend $40,000 on it. And you're wondering, okay, do I add this to the cost of the machine, to the balance sheet value of the machine? So this machine, it's on the balance sheet. It's got for historical cost less the accumulated depreciation, right? So do I capitalize this $40,000 as part of the value of this machine and then depreciate that $40,000 over time? Or do I expense it right now, the entire $40,000, and just say it goes to the income statement as an expense? So whether or not you expense this $40,000 immediately or capitalize it to the value of this machine is going to depend on certain criteria. And so you're going to capitalize that $40,000 if you have reason to believe it extends the useful life of the asset. So let's say that the useful life of this machine was 30 years, and then because you spent the $40,000 on it, now the useful life is 50 years. Well, now because you've extended the useful life of the asset, you would go ahead and you would capitalize that $40,000. It would become part of the value on the balance sheet of this machine. Also, if you increased the capacity of the asset, so you don't necessarily have to extend the useful life, if you increase the capacity of the asset, and by capacity we're talking about like the output, right? So right now the output is 1 gold bar per hour, right? You put some scrap metal in the machine and you get 1 gold bar per hour. But what if you went to 2 gold bars per hour because of this $40,000 you spent? In that case, then you would capitalize the $40,000. Also, if you increase the efficiency of the machine, for example, let's say it takes fewer labor hours or less input, right? So you're putting scrap metal into the machine, and let's say it takes half as much scrap metal to get 1 gold bar because of what you did with this $40,000 that you spent. Okay, in that case, then you would also capitalize that $40,000 to become part of the value of the machine on the balance sheet. And if just in general this $40,000 somehow increased the economic benefit of the asset, let's say you use the $40,000 to spray paint the face of the CEO on this machine, and people just think your CEO, that he or she is wonderful and just a great person, and so when they see his or her face on that machine, they just it really adds brand value to it or something like that. Then this $40,000 has somehow increased the economic benefit of the machine. For somehow you believe it's added some kind of benefit, and so therefore that $40,000 could be capitalized to the value of the machine. So that's a little more vague, that criterion. But in general, if you can't prove that you've done one of these things, you haven't extended the useful life, increased the capacity or efficiency, then what you're going to do is you're going to expense the $40,000 immediately, right? So you as soon as it's incurred, you're going to expense it. And for example, the classic example is routine maintenance. So let's say that this machine, let's say the reason you're spending the $40,000 is basically just that the machine broke, right? Let's say the machine broke down. And so you say, hey, I was getting a gold bar an hour here by just throwing in scrap metal. I need to get this machine going again. And so you hire a mechanic to come in. The mechanic says, oh, it's going to be $40,000 to get this machine up and running again. So you spend the $40,000, and what you would do is you would just debit repair expense. So you'd have an expense, repair expense, and then credit cash or payable. And so in that case, you wouldn't be adding any of the costs of routine maintenance. They're not going to increase the value of this machine on the balance sheet. It's just going to be an expense that goes immediately to the income